Well, Donald Trump was humiliated once again today in the Oval Office, sitting in exactly the same chair. Donald Trump made history on Monday by being the first president of the United States to lie publicly about America's oldest ally, France, with the president of France sitting right beside him. President Emmanuel Macron of France actually reached across to put his hand on Donald Trump to stop Donald Trump from lying about France.
World leaders and journalists publicly fact-checked Donald Trump in a series of high-profile meetings, exposing his false claims on U.S. aid to Ukraine, global trade, and tariffs. But instead of leading the discussion, Trump found himself corrected on the spot, again and again. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future updates. At a meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron, Trump confidently declared, "We've given more to Ukraine than anyone. The U.S. is carrying the entire burden while Europe is just handing out loans."
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the U.S., loans.
Caught off guard, Trump attempted to save face. Well, I don't know about that. I've heard different things. But the reality? The European Union has provided over $91 billion to Ukraine, more than the US. And it's not in the form of loans. Just 3 days later, Trump repeated the same false claim in a meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The UK has been loaning money to Ukraine. They'll have to pay it all back, right?
No, Mr. Trump, the UK's aid to Ukraine is non-repayable. It is not a loan.
Even after being corrected twice, Trump insisted, "Really? That's not what I heard."
We have official government reports confirming this.
At a press conference, Trump inflated the amount of U.S. aid to Ukraine, claiming Biden has given $350 billion to Ukraine. It's insane, and we get nothing in return. A journalist immediately fact-checked him.
Mr. Trump, according to U.S. government reports, the actual amount is $119 billion. Can you explain the difference?
Backed into a corner, Trump dodged, "I hear a lot of different numbers, but believe me, it's way more than they're saying. But the truth? The actual number is $119 billion, not $350 billion. And most of that money stays in the U.S., paying American defense contractors." Trump tripled the real figure to mislead the public, making it seem like the U.S. was losing money, when in reality, the funds were fueling the American economy. Media headlines exposed the distortion. Trump invents numbers to attack Ukraine aid. Trump then doubled down on another debunked claim, "We're making billions off tariffs. China is paying us." That's when journalist Andrew Feinberg challenged him.
Mr. Trump, your own administration's reports say that tariffs are paid by American businesses and consumers, not by China. How do you explain that?
Visibly irritated, Trump lashed out, "That's fake news. I know what's happening. We're finally getting paid by these countries. But the reality? When the U.S. imposes tariffs, foreign countries don't pay us. American companies pay the tariffs and pass the costs on to consumers. Even Trump's own economic advisors have repeatedly debunked this. Economists called it a masterclass in economic ignorance." A British journalist then confronted Trump about his double standard, praising Putin while insulting Zelensky. "Mr. Trump, you called Zelensky a dictator, yet you repeatedly praise Vladimir Putin, who silences opposition and holds power through force. Can you explain this contradiction?" Trump hesitated, then gave an unconvincing response. "Zelensky, I've heard he controls everything. I don't know, people say things." The journalist didn't let it go. "So, do you stand by calling Zelensky a dictator?"
So do you stand by calling Zelensky a dictator?
Trump dodged the question again. "The truth? Zelensky is a democratically elected president. Putin is an autocrat who jails opponents and controls the media." Trump refused to criticize Putin, but his silence spoke volumes. These back-to-back fact checks didn't just challenge Trump's statements, they obliterated them. Meanwhile, America is hesitating, but Canada and Europe are taking action. Justin Trudeau just announced a $5 billion aid package for Ukraine, funded by seized Russian assets. While the United States slashed Ukraine aid by over 80%, Canada is stepping up. And this isn't just cash, it's firepower. 25 LAV-3 infantry fighting vehicles, battle-ready. 2 armored support vehicles to move troops safely. Advanced air defense radars to take down Russian drones. Ammo, drones, encrypted communications, giving Ukraine the edge. Trudeau made it clear.
To enable Ukraine to secure a just and lasting peace.
Why does this matter? Canada isn't waiting for the US, they're leading. Seizing Russian assets sets a new precedent, and other countries could follow. Moscow just got the message. Their frozen billions won't stay frozen. This is historic. Never before has a country seized enemy assets and reassigned them for war efforts in a third country. If other nations like the UK, Germany, or France follow Canada's lead, hundreds of billions could be funneled into Ukraine. But this also raises a big question. If Russia's assets can be taken, who's next? Could this backfire, pushing other countries to withdraw from US and European banks? And it's not just Canada. Europe is all in. Spain is sending Patriot missile systems and Leopard tanks. France is deploying armed drones and long-range missiles. Germany is finalizing an $8 billion aid package for 2025. Finnish President Alexander Stubb put it bluntly, Russia doesn't decide NATO's future, we do. What does this mean? Europe isn't just following America anymore, they're leading. If this continues, NATO could shift from Washington to Brussels. For 75 years, NATO has been US-led, but that may be changing. The EU is discussing a common defense force, a step toward a European army. Germany and France are increasing defense spending, more than ever before. New military industries are emerging, outside of US control. If America pulls back, Europe may no longer need the United States to make the big decisions. Meanwhile, the United States is stepping back. 2022 to 2023, $48 billion in military aid to Ukraine. 2024 to 2025, just $8 billion, an 80% cut. Macron made it clear, Europe can't wait for America. Ukraine needs help now. Reality check. Our allies are frustrated. America looks unreliable. If Europe keeps leading, NATO may start making decisions without the United States.
If this trend continues, will the United States still lead the free world? NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg delivers a blunt message. We can't rely on America forever. What's at stake? Russia is seizing more Ukrainian territory while the West hesitates. China is expanding its economic grip, stepping in while the United States scales back. NATO may have to function without US leadership. Deeper analysis. Russia is playing the long game. The more the West delays, the more ground Russia secures. Meanwhile, China is quietly gaining influence, sealing billion-dollar energy and infrastructure deals with Europe, making Western economies less dependent on the United States. If America doesn't act fast, the New World Order may not include US dominance. From Florida to Nebraska, Idaho to Montana, Trump supporters, farmers, construction workers, and industry leaders are now feeling the real impact of the very policies they once cheered. They voted for Trump, believing his America First agenda would protect their jobs and industries. Instead, mass deportations created severe labor shortages, tariffs backfired, driving up costs. Reckless spending threatened small businesses. Ironically, many still support him, even as they face shrinking profits and rising prices due to Trump's economic policies. Tony Derry, a tomato farmer with 4,000 acres, was a strong Trump supporter. He believed tariffs and border security would shield his farm from foreign competition. But when Trump pledged to deport 11 million undocumented workers, Derry saw a crisis looming. Here's the reality. Over 50% of U.S. agricultural labor comes from undocumented workers. Without them, crops rot in the fields. Farmers already struggle with low-cost imports and high production costs. Losing labor means total collapse. Tariffs were a key pillar of Trump's America First strategy. Farmers like Tony Derry supported them, believing they would protect U.S. industries. The problem? When Trump imposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada, they retaliated. U.S. soybeans, pork, and corn became too expensive on the global market. Farmers in Nebraska and Midwest exporters suffered as sales plummeted. It didn't just affect agriculture. Grocery prices soared. Cars, industrial goods, and raw materials became more expensive. The ripple effect hurt every American household. Rather than boosting American industries, Trump's tariffs crushed them, raising costs, killing exports, and damaging U.S. trade relationships. Trump's economic policies proved disastrous. But Biden's solutions have faced resistance from Trump and his allies. Stronger border security without mass deportations. Pathways to legal status for essential workers. Investment in key industries rather than reckless tariffs. The critical question for American voters: does your vote truly serve your interests? Are you supporting policies that build or those that destroy? Immigrants aren't just workers. They are the backbone of America's economy. Trump's economic decisions aren't just hurting Americans. They're angering U.S. allies. As Trump announces aggressive tariffs, world leaders from Canada, Europe, and the UK are fighting back. Canada strikes back, threatening U.S. agriculture and auto industries. Europe targets U.S. tech, putting Tesla, Google, Apple, and Amazon at risk. The UK calls out Trump, questioning his stance on Ukraine and global security. What happens if these nations retaliate? U.S. farmers lose billions in exports. Tesla's prices double in global markets, slashing sales. American tech giants face major tax hikes, leading to job losses. Trump promised to protect the U.S. economy, but his policies are isolating America and driving it toward a financial crisis. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau isn't backing down. Justin Trudeau: Canada will never bow to Trump. If the U.S. imposes tariffs, we will retaliate immediately. And it's not just words. Canada is launching a nationwide boycott of U.S. goods, threatening 100% tariffs on Tesla, doubling car prices, restricting U.S. agricultural imports, costing American farmers billions. Tesla alone could lose billions if Europe and Canada impose tariffs, crippling its global dominance. French President Emmanuel Macron openly mocked Trump's energy policies. Emmanuel Macron: in America, they chant drill, baby, drill. In Europe, we say plug, baby, plug. This isn't just a trade war, it's a battle for economic influence. For the first time in history, a Supreme Court ruling has challenged Trump's presidential power. The court found that Trump violated due process rights. Even as president, he was not above the law. The decision set a new precedent. Future presidents cannot bypass legal checks. The ruling exposed a key weakness in Trump's leadership. He repeatedly ignored legal procedures. He bypassed necessary oversight. His unchecked power threatened democracy. The debate split the Supreme Court. Conservatives feared it weakened presidential authority. Liberals argued it was necessary to protect democracy. What does this mean for the future? Future presidents will face stricter limitations. Executive power will be closely monitored. No leader will be able to act without legal accountability. This ruling is a win for democracy, showing that no one, not even the president, is above the law. With allies turning away, economic policies backfiring, and legal challenges mounting, America is at a crossroads. Will the U.S. continue to lead NATO, or will Europe take over? Are Trump's policies truly helping America or driving it into isolation? Does your vote align with your own interests, or just with promises? What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now to stay updated on these critical global shifts.